Hello everybody. Normally we should be live now. I'm a little bit scared, from live streams, these days, and we changed and not to another program. So that's the reason why I'm sitting here with my tablet on my lap, so to say, to check my own live stream. So hopefully everything goes okay. If I look to the screen over there of my computer, it looks fine, and I'm seeing myself appear here on the screen, which is actually kind of weird. So, assuming that everything is okay, before I just say hello to you in the chat, we are going to introduce this live stream for about 5 minutes. So people who watch the replay, once this video is over, this live stream is over, you can skip 5 minutes ahead if you don't want to see this introduction. And then we're going to devote some of our time to Bach. I would say Beethoven I was thinking on Beethoven, but Beethoven was on Monday. So Bach here on Thursday evenings, and that's great. Those are little islands for me, Bach Islands and Clavichord Islands. Because when the pianoforte came, it was a big event for me, and I had to learn and still have to learn to, play it, but also maintain the instrument, keep it in tune, and so develop a touch and things like that. So the clavichord went a little bit to the background, which is not something I really like, because now preparing for this live stream, it's unbelievable what a clavichord is for a musician. It's hard to explain if you don't play the clavichord, but if you do, you will know exactly what I mean. It's just one-to-one speaking. So I have prepared for this live stream the fingering for number 14. Last week, remember, we did the fingering for number 13 completely from scratch. I hadn't played that piece before, as I haven't played the number 14 before, so I just made the fingering today as a change. I thought maybe it's maybe a little bit too much for every week have a session with dedicated to making fingerings. I'm really practicing from scratch, So I hope that's something that is a nice alternative for last week. But if you would like me to make next week's live stream again fingering, so as we had last week, I'm happy to do that. So today I'm going to practice with you almost from scratch number 14. That's a new piece for me. I just made the fingering a few hours before the stream. And have a look again at number 13, what happened with that. So practicing that piece and see how it develops. So don't expect in this live stream to have finished pieces, because it is all fresh material, so to say. And then when we still have time, I'm planning to end the stream to clock around 1 hour. So 10-15 minutes before, we'll have some time to really dive into chat and for questions. I will have my my tablet next to me, so I can have an eye on the Anya says the sound is great. Sound is great. She's asking me something now, so I have to listen when she speaks from above.
Gilio asked if it was a Dover edition.
Okay, yeah, I'll go into the chat. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm playing from the Dover edition, so which is the reprint from the first Bach Gesellschaft edition, 19th century edition, but it's still very, very good. And we'll dive into urtext and editions later or in a video. I have some, not an opinion, but on that, but there are some things we can take from that. And the reason that I'm playing in this book is because it's so easy to turn pages. That's basically it. So what was I saying concerning with Bach? And if we still have time, then I can replay them from the first one. It has been some years, so also there I will be practicing them as if you weren't here, so to say, which is virtually true, but it feels like you really are here. I'm happy that Anya came to give me thumbs up for the live stream technically. Again, we changed to Streamlabs OBS, and it sounds all technical, and it's really complicated once you have a setup with some microphones, a camera, and some external, I even don't know what the name is, video card or something like that. So, okay, so just say a quick hello and then we jump right into the Bach Sinfonia. So you hear the clavichord sound already, I guess, from through those microphones. It's not the regular setup with my Neumann, so the good microphone, so to say. They're still over there above the piano. Going to make some recordings this week, and I prefer not to touch them once the recording is, the previous recording, Clementi, I thought was okay. So it's nice when they stay in the same position. So I will record it with my old microphones, which are great also. So Joseph, great to have you here. You're a little bit early, you said. Well, that's no problem. That's the great thing about live streams. You can chat. And Anya, that's my wife. She's in the chat as a moderator as well. And she will also, when I miss one of your questions, will come downstairs here from the stairs and present me with your questions if I missed them. So Michael, Walter, great to have you here. Emmy is here. Patrons, all patrons. Christine, Lyons or Lions. It's my first attempt at the chat. Looking forward to it. Well, go ahead, I would say. There is a kind of community for the live streams, which is great, and it's oftentimes nice for me to read those chats afterwards to see what you guys are talking about. Also, when I'm playing, and I learn from that. And also, there are some train amateurs, so train lovers. I don't know if that's the correct word. So from model trains, my father was into that as well, and I simply don't take his trains to our place. He died a few years ago because that would be too much of a hobby for me. But if it's about trains in the chat, no problem, go ahead. So I will put the tablet here. And if it's too distracting, I will just turn it off. Because I see myself now. You know what? I'm not going to do that. Let's focus on the music and just start playing. So you don't see my score now. I try to figure out how I can bring the score on screen while you still see me, but that's difficult. Because the score you need full window, so to say, to really look at the fingering and, well, still figuring out these things, how that should work. But I guess if you're watching this session, these practicing sessions, then chances might be big that you have the score of the symphonias yourself. So it's number 14 that we are going to play. And if not, on IMSLP, this edition is there. Hope you can hear me right. Perfectly like this. What I'm going to do now is play very slow, and honestly I will be a little bit more disciplined than when you are not here. That's one of the great benefits of these live streams. Practicing during these live streams is really good because I'm doing it as I should, so to say. So I made this fingerings a few hours ago, and I will go through this piece very, very slow, and you will probably notice that my tempo sometimes is increasing, so I'm speeding up. That's a normal thing because unconsciously, I would say, I'm looking in the back of my head for the right tempo, which is ridiculous because that's something you will not find in the first session. So if the tempo is unstable, it's because of that. So there we go, B flat major. So what I'm looking for now when I'm playing is that I can really read every note, almost every note, before I play it, so that I have headroom, so to say, in my brain to process every input that I give as perfect as possible. kind of unexpected to E flat major suddenly. So doing really nothing, just trying to make a nice tone and read the notes. Try to play as cantabile as I can. So with a nice tone, but without actually thinking about interpretation or whatever. Complicated bar here. You have this middle voice, has the theme, I think. Yes, here the theme starts again. By the way, it's a kind of a weird theme, but it's a motive more. And also when things happen like this, so you have jumps, you have in the middle voice, which is in three-voiced pieces, always difficult because they jump between left and right hand. So every release should be very relaxed. That's something I really practice from the beginning. Because certainly on the clavichord you pay it cash when you don't have a perfect release of your note, because when you go faster, you find your tempo that you want. Then having not practiced this relaxed feeling when you release the notes, even when it's a little bit more difficult, then you will hear that in the sound. Also here, my terms, it's going from the F to the A. I release it gentle. Beautiful modulation to E flat again. Also here, you go down with the right hand. There is no way that the left hand can help. It's D, D is an octave, but you go even more down. So the upper D needs to go to the G. And you can only do that by taking time. So what you see often is that people, musicians, and everyone, me included, so jump from the D to the G and try to make it very quick. But then the opposite happens. You will be too late and the sound will be rather awful then. So just take time. Also here, from the E flat with the fourth finger going to the fifth in the upper voice, there is a phrasing, it's chom, rom. So you need this articulation, but do it gentle. bar again, because there you have the theme entrance in the bass note. Here, the F. I've indicated that while making fingerings. Okay, and then you have this. So the D definitely in the middle voice needs to be softer, while in the right hand, well actually in the same hand, in the upper voice, this shouldn't affect that, so that's hard. Also little rests like these 16th rests, give them a little bit more time, because it's a dialogue. That's something unseen with Bach. It's even not happening in the partitas. I believe that you have in the right hand, you go, this is really difficult because the 16th notes in the middle voice is only one, is running down the 16 notes. But at the same time, the upper voice is going up and the left hand is so far out of reach, it can't help. So if you figure out just, the right hand has to figure out itself. And then 2 times, and then when that's over, the left hand goes down. Again here, a big jump from the C to C. Da-dee-dum, and the upper voice has jump, rum. And then the left hand, it's a D-sim we say in Dutch. So it's 10 notes, an octave and a third. On the Saxon Clavichord or the Saxon keyboard, so to say, the notes are a little bit, the keys are a little bit smaller compared to a modern piano, so it's easier. But even then, that's unseen actually. Let's now the piece develop a little bit. As what I'm going to do now is just practice as I normally would do. So the fingering is okay. The reading process is something that takes days. For a piece like this, well, it depends. You can of course read it, play it a few times after, a few times again, repeat it again, and then you will see that the short memory remembers those notes more. Of course, when you wake up the next morning, you will see that with a fresh piece, and that's for everybody the same. Experienced or not experienced, or less experienced, that's for everybody the same. That the next day you will lose a little bit of this reading of this new piece, what seems to be easy and seems to be acquired the day before. So we'll see how it goes. I'll just play and try to make something of this piece, and I will explain or not. I mean, we'll see how it goes. But this is a rather strange theme, and then he opens the first bars like you have a little bit of feeling of playing 17th century music, like here. It's beautiful piece. Certainly this harmonic, this could have been swelling. Maybe not swelling, but later 17th century. Theme. The F is too short. Hear such a sequence of harmony, I can imagine that Bach, when he improvised, it sounded often like that, with unexpected harmonic changes. So this is going too fast. I mean, not maybe for the music, but in my mind. And suddenly the music starts to feel a little bit boring. It's just because I don't have the ability yet to shape it into a kind of three-dimensional form, where you can bring out the themes and the motives not only by dynamics, but also by accentuation and timing and articulation. Streaming is bad, this here.
Ja,
okay, yeah. It's
ding is uitgevallen boven.
Oh, what can I do now? Oh, live streaming. Let me try to reduce the output, but there is not so much I can do.
Ja, het is gewoon helemaal uitgeworden. Paarse.
Okay. So the stream should be back now. I see it here on my tablet. I see myself here enabling the live stream again. Well, I don't know what happened. I really don't know. I think we have done so many live streams. The last live streams, it's really terrible. And there are things that never occur. I mean, the streaming quality should be great, but I have a sign here on YouTube's dashboard which says bad. Probably the fastest internet connection that's available in the world we have, because I upgraded everything for this. Now the stream is good. It's back again.
Yes, that's okay now.
I have really no idea. I'm sorry for the... If you lost... Also the chat is frozen here. nothing I can do, really. And I want to ask something to anyway. As long as Anya is happy, I will continue playing. So that's for this piece enough. I just check my stream here, my live stream. And it's actually rather annoying that there was again something wrong with it. But we'll keep doing this until it is fine. So, okay, I see the stream is back on. I see you in the chat now. So what happened basically was that suddenly YouTube or my computer, I don't know, decided that the stream quality went from perfect to very bad, and even so bad that the stream there was no stream at all anymore. Anyway, we'll make up with Bach and we'll see how it goes. And as promised, really I promise I will fix this, but it's difficult because I don't know, I know a lot of great computer guys, so to say, but they have zero experience with live streaming. And as soon as you touch the subject of live streaming, there is a big silence because there's so many factors involved. And I definitely, and if it runs, I'm happy, but if it doesn't, I don't know what to do. So, but we'll fix it anyway. Time will learn. Let's see what happened to number 13. So I just played it through a few hours ago, and I will do it again. So very slow at the beginning and see what my tempo is going to be. It's a wonderful piece, this one. So I didn't practice it during the week. To give you some background, I made fingerings last week during the live stream, and then we practiced a little bit together. But I didn't touch it because I'm spending really a lot of time at the piano. This morning still I was playing Czerny etudes because I have to keep doing that on the piano. And so I have too little time to practice the clavichord, which annoys me and which, as I said at the beginning, we should change over time, but that's now the period where we're in. I need to learn to play the piano, tune the piano, maintain that instrument, and that takes a lot of time. So all to say that I didn't play this. So it develops now as we speak. Okay. second theme is coming, it's popping up unexpectedly, and then with this very static, with always this but I've not yet technically the freedom, not yet, maybe it comes in a few minutes or so, to really let it play its own game. Completely clear with you here, I did play it a few times before the live stream, so it's not really the first time I'm touching this piece after making the fingerings last week. So, and what happens then when you have made those fingerings really carefully and really, not rushing, so be very focused, and then practice it slow a few times, that it develops in your mind. Just by not practicing, it's remarkable. You have to try this, and so by just playing it a few times, the piece technically lifts up really quickly. Okay, let's do this again. Typically, I would just play it a few times and see how it develops. So just let's try to do that. Constant notes out of tune. If you would ask if the clavichord is stable as an instrument, it hasn't been tuned since mid-November. And I had a concert in Leuven, so an hour drive. End of November. It was remarkably stable. Normally it changes, of course, when transporting, but it didn't. Played a concert, brought it home, didn't change. And so that's the first note, and that A, second string, has been replaced. 2 years ago, and that's difficult. Replacing one string, it will always be a kind of weak spot. So, okay. I'm speeding up a little bit. I don't know if I like that. It's possible, I'm not sure yet. That starts to develop a little bit. I don't see the chat here on my tablet, and I better can switch it off. Let's see here on the computer. Don't see it either. Where is my chat? Here it is. Okay, let me just read. If we have a little bit more time, I could just go to the first one just to start all over again, because that's the goal, to play all the sinfonias and prepare them for a recording, both for YouTube and for CD actually. I made the recording of the CD obviously here in this home studio. Maybe the other one is ready, I don't know. We'll see. And the YouTube recording, I actually plan to do that in the 15th century chapel over there. Okay, John is here in the chat. I just read some names and just go through your... Hope you still hear me, because this microphone is really bad in picking up my voice when I sit here. So Jason asks if there are any additions of the inventions in symphonias with metrical metronome numbers besides Czerny. I wouldn't know actually. I don't think so, because maybe some later 19th century editions, but the Czerny ones, they were considered to be so important that my guess is that there were not many musicians or editors who made another edition. You have to be careful with Czerny though, because they changed his metronome numbers of the inventions. I don't think of the symphonias in later editions. They made the numbers a little bit lower without actually mentioning. So Chinese metronome numbers for the inventions are actually a key piece in understanding historical use of metronome as I see it, because those tempi are beyond ridiculously fast. So yeah, it's Kumakat. It's more singable when it's slower, and certainly this A major, A minor piece, it has such a nice bounce. So that's the thing. You need time for things to settle down and to become a unity, so to say. Okay, Jerry is here. That's a new name, I think, for the live stream. Is great. And Andre is here as well. Oh, that's great. I read that he is going to help you with the live streaming. That would be awesome. So just to close, maybe the first one, the C major, is one of the most magical pieces ever written. So complex, with constant themes or motives, if you want, running through each other. The normal theme, and obviously, but very quickly followed in bar 4 already with the reversed theme. And it's constantly, it's like, I oftentimes, when I give a concert to people who don't know Bach very well, I give always the same kind of picture of Bach. It's like you have one of the most complex, large canvas, so to say, with a formula of mathematics or of math, the most complex thing, and Bach does that and he puts a layer on top of that which makes it so easy to understand, not the complexity, and to enjoy. But if you want to see and you want to enjoy the complexity, you can dive deeper and deeper and deeper. But from the outside, it's just as if it's so easy. And this first Sinfonia is a great example of that. Also played this one a few times before the live stream, so it's not really 2 years ago, but still they were practiced very well. Thank you to the live streams back then, and so that's such a strong foundation. How many entrances of the themes are here? I think I have indicated them all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Maybe I missed some here. So 16 theme entrances in how many bars? 16, 17, 18, 19, 21 bars. It's unbelievable. Middle voice. Bass. Reverse in the bass. Normal in the bass. Reverse in the middle voice. Bass. Reverse middle voice. Reverse in the top voice, and then in the bass it's too complicated to speak it. Soprano, middle, bass, bass, reverse in the bass, D major, E flat is a B flat major is a really strange piece. E major and E minor. Yeah, it's great, really great. I'm looking forward to this project. Actually, we're doing that already. And the great thing about playing it also during the live streams, so not only practicing, but once we are done with 14 and 15, so the last one will be for next week. Also a weird piece, actually, strange. Then I suggest that I just make a few sessions with just playing, and maybe a little bit of telling what I'm thinking, or just going through some details, but basically playing. And because it's important, because playing from microphones after making hundreds, so many recordings, still is something, and I think you will recognize that. Just playing for yourself or playing in front of an audience, those are the best things actually. Playing for a microphone is somehow always adding a little bit of tension, and you can feel that here and in your neck, and it's not, I mean, you sit a little bit like this, and instead of sitting like this, and just by playing a lot during the live streams, we did that with the Bach partitas. That was such a great experience, because you take the same music, put it in front of an audience and the microphones, and then while actually recording the pieces, they have developed so much. So I'd love to do that together with you, if you don't mind. Hi Christian, see you. Michael Thomas asks, would Wim speak about using the right hand fifth finger on successive top notes? Yes, certainly. So this kind of fingering. So in this time you will never shift to fourth finger. That's really 19th century. So also for, that's actually a thing that happens really a lot. So, by the way, my fingering, I'm not pushing you to my Patreon side, but if you sign in for Patreon, that starts with $1 a month even, you get my complete fingering of the Bach partitas. So, actually as a welcome gift, and there you can, I think, see a lot of these fingerings. I make very detailed fingerings when I practice, and I'm trying to have this microphone in front of my face, because otherwise you won't hear me. Dibanoya says, glad to finally be able to catch a live stream live. I'm happy you're here, and I'm happy we're still live, because again, this live stream, we learned that live stream is not so easy. I would be really happy when I would be sure that the live streams technically went just fine, because back in your head you're of course thinking on what's happening, and I'm very lucky that Anya is always willing to attend these live streams in the chat. So she's sitting upstairs, and so she comes down and notices me, so I know if she doesn't show up, everything is fine. But it's different than live streaming if you're a gamer or YouTube gaming, which of course is enormously popular. You have your computer in front of you. You see constantly what's going on, but that's not when you're playing, of course. And there's Anya.
I have 2 questions.
She comes with questions, not saying that the live stream is bad. So.
No, it's fine.
Well, come over and say hello.
Well.
We are all family.
Yeah, okay.
So here you can see yourself.
Yes, that's never a good idea if I can see myself. I have a question at the beginning of Philip Dimitriov. Anyway, it's about a tip about sight reading for Bach.
Yeah.
And Richard K. that's on the end. He has a few questions, and this one you already answered, I guess.
Okay.
Hi, I'm going back to the chat.
Or you can stay if you want.
Yes, but then I can't follow anything.
So sight reading for Bach, that's really difficult. I must say that first of all you have to do it a lot. I can see that now when I'm practicing a lot the piano. So the way that Beethoven or Mozart or Clementi is writing music, it's much different than Bach. It's well, let's not go into detail. I think you all know what I mean. So Bach's complexity is really, really on a high level. So sight reading a 3-voiced piece or a 2-voiced piece, I think it's possible. I don't think it's necessary in a way that it will really help you. I mean, sight reading in Mozart sonata is something else. But a Bach fugue, I would say, well, if you really need to sight read it, then try, but I don't think it's really well possible. To be honest, I know some people who really are great in sight reading. For instance, my friend and great clavichord player Miklos Spani, he is really great in it, but typically you will see that those people have a lot of experience in basso continuo, and they think constantly harmonically. And well, then they sight read a fugue, maybe also from that harmonical perspective, which already is really fascinating to see, but it will never be on a really high level technically. They leave out notes and things like that, because how can you sight read 3 or even 4 individual voices? It's very hard. I cannot give you real tips for that. But a lot of people have asked me also how to sight read. That's one question I get a lot of times, and I might do something with that. And the second question is that a lot of people ask is how to overcome stage fright. Actually, I prepared 2 years ago extensive notes for making a video series or an online course even, and I just lost those notes even so, but those things I might go back into. But the best tip for sight reading is do it a lot, and not restrain yourself to sight reading, because you need to practice those pieces really, really, really well in order to play them, to overcome the technical difficulties. And these kind of pieces, the technical difficulties are maybe moderate on the level of playing the notes right. They're lying more in the field of making the articulation for all pieces, for all voices, and certainly if you play them on the clavichord, release the notes, attack the notes, press the notes in the right way. But it's more the reading process on itself. You have to kind of not memorize the notes, but become familiar with the texture. And once it does, it feels easy, but you have to overcome this barrier, which in sight reading is really hard with Bach. Yeah, Philip says, well, then the main tip could be practice a lot regularly and get better. Yes, of course. Let's go back to the question of Richard, if I can find that. Let's switch to live chat. So the Bayona is in London. That's indeed not so far from us. Okay, I don't see the question. I hear Richard. Regarding field of action. Okay, here's the question again. Would you describe the action feeling between a modern piano and an unfretted clavichord? I recently purchased the Musikplans for a Specken clavichord I wish to complete. So the action of a clavichord compared to a modern piano, that's comparing two totally different things. In fact, going to the Frenzel pianoforte here, that's a Viennese Prell mechanic, so Viennese 1720s, 1820, 1825 action. Switching to the clavichord back, it's possible. Those instruments are not, it's a different world, but it's still possible. playing a lot of my Erar here and go back to the clavichord, it's really hard. Going from the Erar piano to a modern piano, it's hard. Because, so how to explain that? There is a difference in key weight, so the clavichord is very, very, very light, though you have to apply arm weight together with finger speed in order to make sound. You will have to apply a lot more arm weight and maybe less finger speed on a modern piano, even on an Erar. You have to make a combination of that on the Frenzel. So at the end, it are the ears who are adjusting everything, but of course the basic techniques should be there. So switching constantly from the modern piano or from the Erar to the clavichord, typically I feel my clavichord touch really suffers, but really suffers. I mean, it's reduced to 30% of its possibilities, because suddenly those dynamic possibilities that the clavichord has become kind of invisible, so to say, for my fingers. I have to again discover that. So that's one of the reasons I skipped playing the organ, though I think I can do it again, because an organ typically has a lot heavier action, so you have to apply more arm weight, maybe more relaxed, being more relaxed in your arms. And I had the same feeling that my clavichord touch suffered from that. Now that I'm playing the pianoforte more and combine the instruments more, like we're doing now with the live streams, so I feel that I recover from playing the piano at the clavichord much faster. But I would say going further than that is difficult really. So it's hard to compare those two. I don't, that's not an answer, but that's, and the Specken clavichord is great, by the way. So do your best to make a good instrument out of it. Okay. Michael asked, when studying a piece like this, would you try at the beginning to play every voice alone and then say the first and third together, or the first and second? Yeah, you always can do that. I'll never do that myself, since I want to feel the technical grip, so to say, immediately. But I know my teacher Jacques van Ootmessen used to say that when he was a student, his teacher forced him to sing while he was playing several voices, which is really difficult. But that helps. For me personally, it depends on what you really like and what you prefer. For me personally, everything happens internally. So when I'm really concentrated, I hear the voices separately in my head. But you can never hear three voices at the same time. So yes, go ahead. When you play the organ, of course, that's different, because you have to train the motorical aspects from playing pedal keyboard with your hands. And certainly if you play trio sonatas, then typically you would have right hand pedal, left hand pedal, and then build up the technical skills, because that's really hard. But it never hurts. The better you know the piece from inside, the better you can translate it to your audience, and that's what it is all about. It's a translation you make for your audience. And pieces like these, they can sound very boring, and they can sound at the same time great, with full dimension, so to say. Okay. Mike asked, do you aim to keep the theme entries consistent? What if you introduce an ornament? Yes, I would say even trying to make the same fingering for the same motifs, and certainly the themes, make that as consistent as you can. That's part of the joy of pieces, polyphonic pieces like this, that every time, hey, it's there again. Also bring the theme entrances really to the front on the clavichord. That's of course the perfect instrument for that. You can play with timings, with articulation, but also with dynamics. And ornamentation, you can do that. I mean, if you build this framework around the motifs and themes that you want to make clear every time, you can change it, and I think that's even in Bach's music really appropriate. I've made a video a long time ago on the inventions and symphonias and the addition of trills over the in the course of 20-30 years. We're not sure that it's all Bach, but there are a lot of changes. I should redo that video because I think I can do it better now. But that's an important lesson for us, that this music was not seen as something like, for instance, later music of Beethoven. He wrote every note very carefully, and he wanted you to play it as he wrote it down, even though it's not really clear if he would be against adding ornamentation and things like that. But before that, in the 18th century, there was a living score, so musicians expected you to elaborate a little bit on that music, which in the case of Bach is heavily elaborated on itself by Bach, so to say. And second point is that we should be careful not to overdo things, because we should be aware that we are not living anymore in that time. So it's not because they had this context in which they lived their music and naturally added things that of course was authentic, so to say, because they were the musicians of the time, that we can allow ourselves, well, we can of course, but if you want to be truthful to Bach, whatever that means, it's difficult to reconstruct that context within people back then added some ornamentation. But, well, let's not overthink this. I think you can do that. Hope that answers your question a little bit. Jonathan asks, can you play through the symphonias again? If that's a plural, we will do that over the course of live streams and things like that. I think for tonight it's 20 to 10 here. I'm a little bit tired, so to say. So I will be focusing on the Thursday live streams a little bit on the Sinfonia. So we go through all of them, and if you have a preferred number, once we hit number 15, we can decide which one we do. So I maybe also have work sessions around some Sinfonias. We go in detail on certain technical aspects. Jason asked, why do people skip the Sinfonias and go right to the w.a.mozart? What do you feel that the Sinfonias teach? I think the logical way of practicing is the inventions, Sinfonias, Bach partitas. So there's
one question of Lemon
Emmy. Okay.
About J.S.Bach or something.
Okay. So why people skip these pieces? Because they have the name of being study pieces, I think. I don't know. I actually don't know why the inventions are seen also as kind of easy pieces, but think about it. How often do you hear the inventions and symphonias in the concert? Certainly the inventions, just two voices. It's incredibly difficult. And what Bach is teaching is he learns to, as he writes in this preface, the cantabile Stil, so the singing style, so to say, which was something new at the time. If you go back to Sweelinck, there you have more the keyboard style. It's not yet related really to a singer or a more cantabile instrument. And then at the beginning of the 18th century, this became really popular. Actually, at the end of the 17th century already, Pachelbel is a bridge composer. The Hexachordum Apollinis that we released on CD and vinyl recently is symbolic. I did that also because that work is symbolic for the clavichord. It introduces, and perhaps other composers as well, but it makes the bridge between kind of, I wouldn't say the North German or the Holland Dutch keyboard style, like you would even have still in Buxtehude's time, with the Italian singing opera style. So introducing a lot of new aspects of making the instruments sing. And it's no wonder that the clavichord became unfretted in that moment, because composers and musicians wanted to use that instrument for that reason. And so when Bach says, well, it's to learn you to play, of course, a learned music in a way, because it's polyphony. So it's not easy, but also technically learn to play these pieces and play them in a cantabile way. He directly, I think, points to the clavichord, because that was seen as the cantabile keyboard instrument. And so, yeah, it are technical exercises. Like the w.a.Clavier, what's the meaning of the w.a.Clavier? I think it's very simple. It's to learn, if you want to learn to play in 24 keys, you do it with the material Bach provided to you. So there is less mystery, so to say, in these pieces, or in these why these pieces are composed than in reality was. It was practicing, study music at the highest level, of course. Like the clavichord was the practice instrument, Übung zum Üben, as the Germans say. But we make today, like we make from the symphonias and inventions, quote-unquote, easy music to step up more serious, difficult music, which is not the case. Also, the clavichord has that name of, that's an instrument for practice. And once you've done that, still many believe that you go to the harpsichord or another instrument. But if you see that Bach published his most difficult works himself in 4 volumes, which he called Übung. So Klavierübung 1, Klavierübung 2, and so on. So the Klavierübung 1 are the Bach partitas. That's the highest level. So Übung in the sense of this instrument, the clavichord, in the sense of also here, the symphonias, are so really to become a better musician if you are really kind of professional already. How that makes sense. So Anya said that Emmy asked a question, and that if I find that, we'll close with that. She asked a question I've been dreading to ask. I have arthritis, which makes my fingers actuate the modern piano quite fast, but with a light accent synthesizer it's manageable. Would the clavichord suit me? I think yes, because if you understand well, you have to be careful not to overpower your system, your nerve and I don't find the word in English. So to make sure that you stay under a certain level of tension, really important. And I think a clavichord would be a wonderful instrument for you. I've had some students also with similar problems, also through relaxation and really learning to listen to your body. We managed to have really wonderful results. Really listen to your body, really be relaxed as much as possible. A very light-weighted keyboard like the clavichord, where actually arm weight is needed to make sound, but while adding arm weighted from a relaxed position, you don't hurt yourself while you have this. On a modern piano, you need a lot more weight, a lot more effort, tension actually also, in a good way, to make tone. So yes, I think that would potentially be a good instrument for you. We can talk about that more privately if you want. Okay, guys, I thank you for watching here. If there are questions, one thing I could say, when you have questions, urgent or burning questions concerning the topics that we're going to discuss in future live streams, I'll do my best to have the live streams pop up on my home screen on YouTube a week on forehand. So if you go now on YouTube home, so your AuthenticSound, you'll find the live stream for Monday. We're going to go through the Allegro, a movement of the first piano sonata by Beethoven. If you have questions there, the chat is open there, so you can just type in your questions. You don't have to wait until the live stream is actually live. And then the great thing is, when I prepare the live stream, I'll see those questions and I can think about even giving an answer up front. So I'm sorry for the inconvenience with the live stream again. try to figure out. And Andre, I will remember your invitation. I will send you a message and we can Zoom. You have the, you know the way, so to say. Okay, and that would be great to solve that. Thanks for watching and hope to see you Monday again with another live stream. And have a good night or a good day, depending on the place on the planet where you live. See you soon again.